JMath.
Let's now focus on type 1 questions where everything is just multiplied and divided and there's no pluses or minuses between the bases. Okay, step 1, you are going to shift fact each of the bases. So that means if you have a number that's not a prime number like the 8 and the 32, I'm going to use my calculator. I'm just going to say 32 equals and then press the shift and the fact button. That's going to transform this 32 into 2 to the power 5. So I do that with the 4, the 8, and the 32. Remember, 0.5 is just a half, and a half I can write as 2 to the power minus 1. Okay, so that's just something you need to study. Calculator won't really be able to help you with that one. But now I have everything in terms of a base 2. Step 2 then says, write a big base and bring all the exponents towards it. So I am going to write this 2, and all the top exponents I'm going to plus together, and this bottom exponent I'm going to minus. That's law 1 and 2 of exponents. So it looks complicated, guys, I know, but just plus the top ones and minus the bottom ones. If you remember that, this is a very easy sum. Okay, then after I have that, I am going to simplify, and 9 out of 10 times with this little sum in the second last step, you are going to cancel out all the variables, the n's or the x's or whatever, and just be left with a number. And then you just type it in the calculator. Great. That is not too difficult. That is type 1. Okay, let me just show you 2 other examples. So if we focus on the one on the left, I now need to rewrite all the roots in exponent form. So remember what we learned in lesson 1? If they are roots, the inside exponent goes on top, and the front exponent goes to the bottom. Okay, so that's writing a root into exponent form. I'm going to do that with all of them. Okay, and now the rule applies again. I'm writing a big base, a 2, and I'm adding the top exponent. In this case, there is only one top exponent, and then I am minusing the bottom exponent. That I can just type in the calculator, so I know there's x's. Just ignore them for a bit and just type the numbers in. Remember, you don't need to show every step with the fractions. You are in grade 11, so just use your calculator. And now, just like with the previous sum, normally the x's would cancel out, and now I'm just left with 0x over 6, which would just be 2 to the power 0, which is 1. In the next question, so this is a massive question, so this is what you can expect in some exams. Now I just have many bases. I have a 3 and a 5. Sometimes you have 3 different sets of bases. The rule stays the same. So now you must just keep track of which ones have a base 3 and which ones have a base 5. So I'm not going through step by step. I just want to give you a tip. When you get to this step, you are welcome to highlight all the 3s in a certain color and all the 5s in a certain color. And that would just help your brain to identify all these exponents were connected to a blue base, so that's why I put them together. And all these exponents were connected to the 3, which was green. And then you just follow law 1 and 2 and simplify. But okay, guys, let's do the actual sums so you can follow step by step. So, step 1, I am going to shift fact each of the numbers. Now, if I say 75 equals shift fact, it's going to tell me this is 3 times 5 squared. Okay, I'm just rewriting the outside exponent just like it is. Now, 45 is going to be 9 times 5, so that would just be 3 squared times 5. And the n minus 2 stays there. So just do this with each base. Okay, so step 1 says I should shift fact everything, and then I should simplify the exponent. So now this minus n plus 3, I am going to multiply in with the 3's exponent and with the 5's exponent. So this would be 3 to the power minus n plus 3 times 5, and there's a 2, so this would become minus 2n plus 6. Next one, 3, 2n minus 4, and then this one, 5n minus 2. Okay, now I'm going to do the bottom. So because it's so large, I'm just going to do it over 2 lines. This would just be 5 to the power minus 2n. Then with the 3, I'm going to put the n plus 3 there. And then with the 5, n plus 3. There was a 3, and that had just had an exponent of 1. Okay, now's the part where I'm going to take my highlighter and I'm going to highlight all the 3's so I can know which exponents must I plus and minus and which ones must I just leave out. So in the next step, I'm not going to have a fraction. I'm just going to write this as a 3. There's a minus n plus 3, then a plus 2n minus 4. Then the n plus 3 at the bottom, I'm going to take to the top. And if I take something to the top, I just change the signs. So minus n minus 3, and then minus 1. Next one, the 5s. So those are all the ones I didn't highlight. Minus 2n plus 6, plus n minus 2. And then there's a minus 2n at the bottom. I take it up, it becomes a plus 2n. Then the n plus 3 at the bottom, take it up, and it becomes minus n minus 3. Now I can just simplify each one and write the answer. So if I look there, there's a minus n. Let me just highlight for you. So there's a minus n plus 2n minus n. That then gives me minus 2 plus 2, which is just 0. So all the n's cancel out once again, so 0n. And then plus 3 minus 4 minus 3 minus 1. That gives me minus 5. Okay, let's move over to the base 5. There's a minus 2n plus 2n minus n. Once again, that just gives me 0n. Then plus 6 minus 2 minus 3, that gives me just plus 1. And my final answer would then be 3 to the power minus 5 plus 5 to the power 1. Now, guys, I can just rewrite it like this, and you can type it in your calculator if you want, or then try and work it out in your head. But that would be fine. I would get full marks for that. The next question, that's now a lot smaller, but because there's a fraction in a fraction, some people would say this one is more difficult. I don't think so. But anyway, let's go for this. So with this one, I can do nothing at the top, so I'm just going to rewrite it. 2m minus 1 times 3 to the power minus m. So now at the bottom, so there's a fraction on an inner fraction, so that really looks complicating, but don't let it intimidate you. So remember, I know that 4 is 2 squared, and there's an m outside the bracket, so the m must go to the 4 and the m must go to the 27. Okay, it's one of the rules of exponents. So the 4 I'm going to write as 2 squared, okay, but it gets an m. The 27 is at the bottom of the bottom. Okay, so I'm looking there. I know that 27 is 3 cubed, and because it's 1 over 27, or it was in the denominator, I can say the exponent was negative. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 to the power minus 3. But the m needs to go to that base. I know this is complicated, guys. Just focus and use your rules as you learn them. Everything in the bracket must get an m, and that's why it looks like this. Okay, now the next one, this would be, the 9 would be 3 squared. So 3 squared, and then I still have the m plus 1. So let's just write it in a bracket, just like that. Now I can write a big 2 and a big 3 and just bring all the exponents. So with the 2, there's only one base 2 on top. So that's 2m minus 1. And then at the bottom, that, let me highlight, that minus 2m, I'm just going to take to the top. So the 2's are very easy. But now I need to go for the 3's. So let me just highlight them for you. There's an exponent, and then there's an exponent. I now need to take all of them to the top. So the minus m was there. Then the minus 3m at the bottom, taking it to the top, so I must change the sign. And then that 2 I'm going to multiply in and then take to the top. So minus 2m minus 2. Great. Now my answer would then be 2 to the power minus 1 because the 2m's minused out. This 3 would be minus m plus 3m minus 2m, just gives me 0m, and then a minus 2 just remains there. So my final answer for this one would then be 1 over 2 to the power 1. Okay, but guys, let me not skip steps. I don't want to confuse you. So 2 to the power minus 1 is a half. 3 to the power minus 2, so 3 squared is 9, but it's to the minus. So that is then my answer. I just need to simplify. So this is 1 over 18. With the next question, we now need to shift fact everything and then deal with the square roots. So we are going to use this principle or this law that says if it is a root, we just put it as an exponent, and the number that's inside goes on top, and the number that's in front of the root goes to the bottom of the exponent. Let's do this. So the 4, I know the 4 is 2 squared, but there is already a 2n minus 4, okay? And then all of that is in a root. Let's deal with that in the next step. So now with the next one, that 8 I'm going to say is 2 cubed, and then the exponent I just rewrite in a bracket. At the bottom, still keeping that in a square root, and then 16 is 2 to the power 4, but the exponent was 6 minus 2n. Okay, so now I am going to simplify everything. Now the top 2, I'm just going to multiply that in, so that is 2 to the power 4n minus 8, okay? But all of that I can then multiply by a half because of the square root. Okay, the next 2 I'm just going to multiply in, so 3 times 5 is 15 minus 6n. At the bottom, I am going to say that is 2, and then 4 times 6 is 24 minus 8n, but it's in a root, so I'm going to multiply all of those by a half. Okay, guys, so if something's in a square root, I just multiply the exponent by a half. That's the easiest way to do this. Okay, so now I am going to do the next step already because I'm running out of space. So I'm going to say I'm going to do a big 2, and now I'm at the first exponent. Now I am going to multiply these 2 by a half. Okay, that gives me 2n minus 4. Okay, the 15 minus 6n just stays like that. And then at the bottom, I need to now again multiply it by a half, and that will give me 12 minus 4n. And then I'm just going to move it up. So I'm just going to immediately say this is minus 12. And then minus 4n I said, but I'm moving it up so it becomes plus 4n. And then I can just simplify there, and I can see I have a 2n plus 4n at the back gives me 6n, minus 6n gives me 0n. Now with the numbers, minus 4 plus 15 is 11, minus 12 gives me minus 1. And the final answer for this is just a half. Okay, last question, again with the roots and with the big bases. I'm just going to do exactly the same. But this time, I'm going to do the roots first, just to show you it's actually easier if you work with the roots first. Okay, so this 5 and then 4x minus 2, I'm going to halve that immediately. Now, 125 is the same as 5 cubed, x plus 1. And then at the bottom, the 5x just stays there. And now there's a cube root. Okay, guys, so don't get confused. This one, I now need to times by 1 over 3. So let me just keep this 25 for now. And then I'm going to say 6x plus 3 times 1 over 3. Let's simplify. So I'm just going to split this over 2 lines. So if I multiply that half into the first bracket, that just gives me 2x minus 1. And then with the other one, 5 to the power 3x plus 3. Okay, at the bottom, 5x just stays there. And then with this one, I am going to say this is 5 squared. Okay, so I'm shift factoring. Okay, and then the exponent, I'm going to multiply that 1 over 3 in. So that's going to be 2x plus 1. I hope I'm not skipping too many steps, guys. It's just saving space because I didn't give you enough space. Sorry about that. So just to show you that green part, the green answer is there. Okay, now I can write a 5 and then plus the top exponent and minus the bottom exponent. So 3x plus 3 minus x. And then I'm going to do this in one step. The 2 times 2 gives me a 4, but it's at the bottom, so I'm taking it to the top. And then 2 times 1 is going to be plus 2, but I'm taking it to the top, minus 2. Okay, and then my simplified answer would be, I'm looking at the x's, 2x plus 3x gives me 5x, minus 1x minus 4x gives me 0x. So once again, all the variables cancel out. If you do a sum and it doesn't cancel out, please be careful then. Double check your answer. Okay, and now I'm just looking at the numbers. Minus 1 plus 3 gives me 2, minus 2 gives me 0. So this answer is then actually 5 to the power 0, which is just 1. So you did all of that work, and the answer is just 1. Okay, so that is the end of the first type of sums. I'm going to split this lesson into 3 videos, so please check the other 2, and then attempt the homework.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
JJ man.